This house could have been rebuilt if they would have accepted my claim.
Another week, another salacious expose as the insurance expert investigators at a Las Vegas news station dig deep into another story of a heartless insurance corporation denying the claim of an 82-year-old woman who experienced a house fire. If that doesn't make for a great news headline, I don't know what does.
As her insurance company, they won't give her a dime.
And the story's been picked up and spread across the country by news networks from LA to New York, across every social media network, because who doesn't love to pile on the big bad insurance industry? And the news station gets exactly what they're looking for. Eyeballs. Millions of views across social platforms with thousands of people weighing in with their thoughts. And while I found a small handful of people raising legitimate questions with the voice of reason, easily 99% of consumer commentary follows a single theme. So let's take a listen.
And the contractors have all said it'll take 9 months to a year. This house could have been rebuilt if they would have accepted my claim.
But that claim was denied, and that woman's house is in Las Vegas, and it burned to the ground, and she lost everything.
So it burned to the ground, but there it is, still standing. Semantics? Whatever.
Las Vegas, and it burned to the ground, and she lost everything inside. But there is more to that story.
Nothing could be more true. There's always more to the story.
And the woman got in touch with the 87 investigators because her insurance company, they won't give her a dime.
You've got to love this language, implying that the big greedy insurance company is so greedy and so evil, they won't even cut a check for a single dime. Not one single dime.
Our Kyle Payne met with the distraught homeowner and joins us now with an update. Kyle.
Denise, David, this started off as another story of someone who felt scammed by a solar company. But when we dug into it, the homeowner told us about her year-long fight with a major insurance company after her house burned down. Solar was the least of her problems.
Okay, hold up. Listen to that one more time.
This started off as another story of someone who felt scammed by a solar company. But when we dug into it, the homeowner told us about her year-long fight with a major insurance company.
If I'm understanding this correctly, our investigator friend Kyle says that the genesis of this story was actually about a solar scam. So let's get this straight. The news team somehow gets connected with the insured in this story. Did she reach out to them? Did they somehow find her? We don't know. But either way, it's clear that the reason they initially connected, the reason the insured wanted to or agreed to talk to the news was to talk about a solar scam, not about a denied insurance claim. Does that seem odd at all? What am I missing here?
And you want to move into your house again?
You got that one right. I love my house, and I updated it, and it was really, really nice. And you can see the backyard was nice.
Even the backyard was nice at Judy Johnson's single-family home alongside the I-15 near Oakey and MLK.
The house was nice. She loved it. Heck, even the backyard was nice. And again, here's a better view of the two-story home. Very much still standing. This is the one that, quote, burned to the ground. Furthermore, out of curiosity, I did a little digging online. And here's what the house and property looked like just 3 years ago at the time of purchase. It's an older home, built in 1963, dated, but nice. And if we put on our underwriting hat, while there may be a few minor concerns with fixed bars on some windows, maybe a cracking driveway, overall, I think it's safe to assume that nearly any property carrier would consider this an acceptable risk and would gladly insure it. And here's where things get interesting. Take a look at how the risk evolved in just 24 months. Here it is at the time of sale, and here it is at the time of loss. The property quickly became an underwriter's worst nightmare. And the closer you look, the worse it gets. Multiple inoperable vehicles appear to be for sale in the driveway. There are at least 3 motorcycles in the driveway. We'll learn more about that in a few minutes. The backyard has a bunch of shopping carts filled with miscellaneous debris. There's even a full patio set on the roof of this one-story addition at the right side of the home with no railing whatsoever. It's hard to say what in the world is going on there. But look, I believe it's safe to say that no insurance carrier would have written a new policy on this property in this condition at the time of loss. Now, I could take a few minutes to talk about the importance and value of reinspection and re-underwriting projects and include the fact that these projects have never been more important and more achievable through self-inspection, but I'll save that for another video. Back to the news for some interesting new revelations.
Until July 2023, when after living there just a few years,
What happened was the fire department said it appears that the fire started at the meter for the solar and went up the walls to the roof and 70% of the house interior is gone.
Gone, but not forgotten. Not considering the war the 82-year-old Johnson is waging against her homeowner's insurance company. At first, Johnson thought she had a problem with her solar system because you can see the black char all over the back wall of the house, who sent an inspector to try and determine the cause of the fire.
And he looked around in this area right here. He said, I found a cigarette butt. And he said, this is what caused the fire. I said, the fire started there, and a cigarette butt doesn't stay lit, and it's not going to get on top of the roof.
Right.
So I really have a problem with your analysis.
This is something that's definitely covered under every homeowner's policy, and definitely by the language of this policy.
Neil May is a public insurance adjuster.
Enter the knight in shining armor, the public adjuster. Look, I'm not against public adjusters any more than I'm against the plaintiff's bar. I think both serve a legitimate purpose from time to time to ensure policy contracts are honored. However, there's definitely more to this story.
A third party who took on Johnson's case
She definitely needs an advocate.
and began advocating for her when denied her claim. They won't pay to clean it up, won't pay to clean it out, won't pay to replace anything she lost inside, and won't pay to rebuild it, and won't change their mind.
Now look, I am not a claims expert, and I'm certainly not a fire investigator, though I have been inside quite a few houses that have burned, both from my time as an agent and also working for a funeral home. And here's what I'm seeing. It appears that this was primarily an attic fire. Looks like the fire department cut holes in the roof and pumped it full of water, collapsing the ceiling into the living space. I honestly don't really see any evidence of fire or smoke damage anywhere in the interior space of the home. Do you? I did also see several of the news articles spread across the internet where the insured was quoted as saying, it's all boarded up now because vagrants would break in, stay inside, and loot the house. They would break the padlocks, and they ripped out all the plumbing. So it's kind of impossible now to know from this story alone and the few interior photos that we have what damage was from the fire and what's happened from vandalism. Regardless, let's continue.
They won't pay to clean it up, won't pay to clean it out, won't pay to replace anything she lost inside, and won't pay to rebuild it, and won't change their mind.
That's right. The big, greedy insurance company just won't pay for anything. But here's where it starts to get really interesting.
The just resolution would be that they would cover this loss and that they would rebuild it to pre-loss condition.
But resolution is nowhere in sight, says the public adjuster, Johnson's advocate.
There should be an initial offer by the insurance company, usually within 30 days of the loss.
Stop right there. Should be, usually. And while that may be the case in a simple cut and dry claim, this one turns out to be far from it.
And things got a lot worse.
They're actually calling it fraud.
Insurance fraud.
Yep.
Lying about the claim.
Correct.
Okay, so the insurance carrier is calling it fraud. Why would they do that?
But May and Johnson say it's not correct, and that it's not right the way the lawyer treated their customer.
I think she's being even more belligerent towards our client.
Is she getting nasty?
Definitely so.
So defense counsel for the carrier is apparently getting nasty? How so? Let's see.
In this examination under oath obtained by the 8 News Now investigators, Johnson, admitting she, quote, made a mistake filling out insurance paperwork. In this example, the age and value of a refrigerator she says was lost in the fire. The lawyer saying, quote, that's a lie. Johnson saying, quote, I did the best I could. The lawyer telling Johnson, quote, that's not doing the best you can. And a few pages later, warning Johnson her misrepresentation was, quote, potentially a felony. And that's just a conversation about the fridge.
So the way this was characterized in the news story, it does indeed sound a little short. A defense attorney essentially calling an 82-year-old woman a liar and accusing her of not doing her best with the claim, threatening her with a felony. But let's look a little closer. If we actually read the full transcript in context, things get a bit clearer. What the defense attorney actually said was this. But you can't misrepresent things. You can't list something that you bought from a store that you didn't buy it from that's newer than it actually is. That's a lie. That's not doing the best you can. And the insured replied, I agree with you. That's true. I don't have a white refrigerator. To which the defense responded, so why did you put a 2-door white refrigerator, 1 year old, bought at Lowe's on your property loss worksheet? So yeah, even without having the full transcript here to read, which would be fascinating, I'm sure, it's clear the news investigator is pushing a specific angle.
Because this 82-year-old woman could not remember the color of her refrigerator, and she has a few, and where she bought it years ago, they're actually calling it fraud.
But the fridge fraud fiasco seems minor.
The fridge fraud fiasco. I've got to give the reporter props for that. Fridge fraud fiasco. Say that 5 times fast.
The fridge fraud fiasco seems minor compared to the main reason canceled Judy Johnson's homeowner's policy.
Okay, hold the phone. We are over 4 minutes into the news story, and we're just now finding out that her policy was actually canceled? I've got so many questions here.
As the attorney puts it, in that examination of Johnson under oath, she was, quote, found to have been operating a business out of the property. The insurance company who determined Johnson's son, who has serious mental and physical disability, was running a motorcycle repair shop from inside this office here in the house.
Running a motorcycle repair shop out of the house. Now, obviously, a business exposure on the property is a huge no-no for an H03 policy, and an undisclosed business could absolutely be contractual grounds for a claim denial. Looking closely at the transcript again, the parts not highlighted by the news, it sounds like the carrier sent an inspector to the property who took photos indicating there was a business exposure. The carrier subsequently sent a midterm cancellation based on the inspection findings, and the insured says she disagreed and told her carrier that there was no business exposure. So we obviously still are not getting full details here, and I must admit I'm terribly curious whether or not the policy was actually in force at the time of the fire. If it wasn't, I think this would be a cut and dry denial, but I'm certainly not a claims expert. Let me know if there's something I'm missing or not understanding here. My gut instinct would be that since state regulation typically requires carriers to give a minimum 30 days notice on a midterm cancellation, the policy likely was technically in force at the time of the fire, but was set to cancel within a few weeks. If that is true, then the claim denial is very likely based upon material misrepresentation of fact in the application, specifically as it relates to the business exposure. And one last note from the transcript that I wish the news investigator would have questioned. The defense attorney asked the insured, and 2 weeks later the house catches fire? Correct. Okay. And you don't think there's anything unusual about that time frame? Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me, and I agree with you. I agree with you very much so. Okay, I'm not making accusations, but no, I agree with you. This isn't the first time that was a really bad situation. So I agree with you. So hold up, what exactly was this, quote, really bad situation the insured referenced? Is she just referring to the fact that she lied about her refrigerator? Or was that really bad situation a separate case of insurance fraud? Look, I don't know, but if I was the news investigator, I sure as heck would have been questioning that further. But here's the final question, and perhaps the biggest that was asked by the investigator.
But the insurance company thought you were running a business out of here.
That's correct.
Which you weren't.
No. And I don't see how it could have been very profitable. We have no skills, we have no abilities. I don't know one bike from another.
Now, I am not a body language expert or a psychologist, but let's watch that one more time.
But the insurance company thought you were running a business out of here.
That's correct.
Which you weren't.
No. And I don't see how it could have been very profitable.
Instead of a simple and immediate matter-of-fact answer of no, or absolutely not. Instead, we get this awkward hesitation, a nervous sideways look, and an interesting qualification statement that essentially says, even if we did have a business, it wouldn't have been very profitable. Why would you feel the need to say that if there was never a business? And one more thing from earlier in the news story. Do you see anything curious here? Maybe related to a business? How about here? So in conclusion, here's my final thoughts. Make no mistake, I am pro policyholder. I wholeheartedly believe that every policyholder should be paid every dime they are legally entitled to under the terms and provisions of their policy contract. At the same time, I'm also pro carrier, pro insurance industry. Without a healthy insurance industry, we can't have a healthy economy. And without a healthy economy, humanity suffers. Just as no carrier should take advantage of their policyholders by purposefully denying or delaying legitimate claims, no policyholder or plaintiff's attorney or public adjuster should take advantage of the insurance industry by pursuing illegitimate claims. When either party does this, ultimately everyone loses. And finally, when the news media continues to consistently push the narrative of big bad insurance companies denying legitimate claims left and right, it only serves to further erode consumer confidence in an industry that is essential to a functional economy and human flourishing. We've got to do better. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did I get right? Where am I wrong? I look forward to your thoughts. If you're watching on LinkedIn, hit the notification bell in my profile so you don't miss the next episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do to that subscribe button. Thanks for watching and take care.